Hello and welcome everybody back to From the Heart. I'm kind of in a weird transitional stage where I'm not sure what I'm going to be filming about next. So we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about something, and it's something that I've been wanting to kind of do for a little bit to kind of give you guys a few extra videos in between my massively edited stuff, because I read so many different graphic novels, nearly a new one every single day, or at least every other day, and I would like to at least be able to talk about them, just because some of them are too new to be doing what I usually do with things that are out of print or just things that are older. And yeah, we just have to be respectful to artists and writers and things like that. We cannot be going out and spoiling everything in their brand new book that just came out a week ago. And so we can do this. We can sit down and kind of do what I used to do and just sit in a chair and talk about something that I read, something that I really enjoyed, and something by a writer that is probably my all-time favorite when it comes to modern day graphic novels. And this writer would be James Tynion, an absolute mastermind in the horror genre field, even when it comes to Batman and things like that. But the things that have really stuck out for me with James Tynion are Nice House on the Lake, The Truth Department, his brand new run of The Sandman, all things absolutely fantastic. This is one of those writers that when I see it on the shelf, I immediately grab it, and I'm never let down. And the book today that I want to talk about that is written by the James Tynion IV would happen to be The Closet. And as soon as I seen this, I thought I was going to be getting a bit of a monster story. Right on the cover, you have a red door, you have a young man sitting with his teddy bear in front of it, and I just assumed this would be a good, little monster story, like I said. And what it really is kind of a story of symbolism and a really creative take on what a child feels when maybe his parents aren't happy with their own life, when they're not happy with each other. And I thought it was a very relatable book for anybody who's kind of grown up in a rough situation. I'm sure we've all been there at some point of our lives. But for the most part, I thought The Closet was absolutely amazing. I think James Tynion really has a knack for writing any kind of character, really. With things like Nice House on the Lake with 12 or 16 different individuals at a time, them all different backstories, origins, pretty much cross connections with each other. They never come off as bland. James Tynion is very good at this sort of thing. And even though he has worked on things like DC versus Vampire, or maybe even Deceased, I feel like those big books, when they're crossing with so many different people, things are happening way too fast, and some parts are really good and other parts are just kind of lackluster and things like that. But yes, let's get into the meat of the story. I've recorded this video like 3 different times, but this stupid light down here, it keeps washing my face out for whatever reason and completely ruining the shot. So I have the regular light on and the light down there. I'm sorry that the vibes aren't as spooky as they usually be. I don't know if you guys can see all my nice new autumn leaves and my pumpkin and things like that. But yes, let's break down The Closet. So what this story is really about is not about this boy on the cover, even though some very mysterious things will be happening with him, as late at night he keeps seeing this mysterious black creature coming out of his closet. Sometimes it is chasing him, sometimes it's dragging him down to other parts of the house and things like that. And this is something that this child has been complaining about to his parents a lot. And when I say complain, I mean screaming out of pure terror, as he's only about 4 years old. And this is something that has been driving his father absolutely crazy. And while you might think on first picking this thing up is that it's going to be about this young boy, but it's not. It's actually about his father, a man who is extremely unhappy with his life. He feels like he's made all the wrong choices. He misses the person he used to be. This man used to go out to bars, hang out with different women, and hang out with his buddies all the time. And living in New York, he is constantly haunted by this past version of himself. And it's something that is kind of tearing apart his relationship with his wife. They're constantly fighting. He's constantly promising these things that he's going to do and then never, proceeds to do it. And he knows that this is the case of, why he keeps getting in trouble. And that's exactly where we're going to be starting this story, as we kind of just see him in a bar. He's talking to this bartender, he's just dumping all of his problems on this guy. And this is going to be a theme that's going to happen throughout the majority of this book, where this man is just kind of talking to all these different people, trying to vent and trying to kind of do a woe is me situation. And almost every single one of them eventually tells him that this is your fault, man. This is your fault for yelling at your son for being scared of the dark. This is your fault for not doing the things that you say you're going to do for your wife. And alongside this, something that has been brewing up between him and his wife is that he actually had an affair about 2 years ago, and she managed to kind of forgive him for this. And a lot of the people throughout the story think that he would have rather had her break up with him to kind of end the marriage, and that it would have been easier for him to just kind of blame her, to take his son, and just to continue this woe is me kind of story. And while this man doesn't really want to hear any of this, the big portion of the story is that he was supposed to call a therapist about 2 months ago for his son to kind of deal with these fears, with these monsters coming out of the closet, and he never really does so, because soon they're going to be moving across the entire country to a brand new house, and he feels that because they're going to be so far away from this closet, literally miles and miles away, that it doesn't really matter, alright? He thinks that everything is going to go to normal, him and his wife will stop fighting, his son will stop seeing this strange monster, and you do see this monster more than a couple times throughout the story. And upon first reading it, it was very creepy, and I gotta say, about a quarter of the way through, I knew exactly what this book was going to, and we will get into that, but I was happy about it. It's the direction that, once I figured it out, I really wanted to continue, because it's such a creative way to kind of reconcile with a monster, to kind of show the symbolism through a whole story, and to take just a basic bitch monster story and flip it on its head and put you in your feelings, make you think about some things, you know. And that's exactly what James Tynion does, because every single time it shows this father being upset or kind of reminiscing about his past, missing this person that he used to be, or fighting with his wife, basically putting out all these negative vibes. And I hate to say that, but that is exactly the case. These are things that children can feel when you're fighting with your significant other, or you're just kind of, you know, showing them that you're unhappy. You're not showering them with love, you're not putting them in a happy environment. And this is something that is going to kind of affect everybody. Now, before we get too far into this, I'm gonna change the light because I'm scared it's gonna ruin the video. There we go, alright, the light's off. But mainly throughout the story, we're going to be meeting all these different characters, and I would say my favorite part throughout this entire thing is these other characters, are the conversations between the father and these other people who have not really kind of like him at first. He'll be giving them drinks, he'll be giving them cigarettes, all just to stay a while, listen to his problems, until they get to the end of it, where they realize that this guy's kind of just a disdainful dick, alright? He's constantly talking about his issues, and he is clearly the problem throughout this whole thing. He's also making all these promises with his son. Through the story, his son will get more and more scared. The attackings from this monster in his closet will get more and more violent, and he does things like promise that he can sleep with him for the night, and then stays out all night at a bonfire while his kid is literally screaming. And before we get too much farther into this, I think I've covered a good meat of the story. If you want to pick this up for yourself, it's about $15, and it's totally worth it, alright? Last Sunday, I decided I was just going to kind of edit like 10 minutes of raw footage, and then I was going to enjoy myself, alright? I went to one of my favorite comic book shops, I looked on the shelf, immediately seen James Tynion, and then I seen another one called The Plot that had artwork by a man named Campbell that I absolutely love. That one wasn't as good, but this one was amazing. I sat down in my backyard with my dog, had a cup of coffee, and I just blew right through this thing. But yes, if you don't want to know anything about the ending, cut the video right now, come back and listen to it, or don't. I thank you so much for being here, but definitely go check it out. But for everybody else, we're going to sit and talk about this main story. We've already covered about all these different people, about this father who is, like I said, pulling the woe is me card at every single turn that he can, doing all these things, saying he's going to do things, never doing them. And this is all going to kind of lead up to the ending of this story. And you'll probably realize what is going on closer to the beginning, because it's a bit obvious, and if you're somebody that reads a lot, and you're probably good at guessing the endings, it's going to be easy to catch. But it doesn't really end how you would think it would. It doesn't learn with his father learning any kind of new lesson. It doesn't end with this child being absolved of this monster in his closet. And it only keeps continuing, because his father just cannot let go of the past, cannot get along with his significant other, and essentially these bad vibes that are putting him out are basically just adding up into this monster. It's not really a monster, rather than a feeling that this child has been feeling this entire time. This feeling that nobody in his house is happy, this choking feeling of anxiety, this feeling of stress that is chasing him from wherever he goes, whether it's at the original house, or at his dad's friends, or in a hotel 3,000 miles away from it. It's something that is always following him, because it's something that's always with the people that he lives with. His father, his mother, mostly the father. And I thought this twist in the story was very interesting, and I thought it was probably the most creative way that you could have really done a monster story like this, alright? It ended up being something totally different than what I thought it was going to be. I read a lot of horror comic books and things like that, and a lot of the time, the ones that don't hit for me are the ones that just have monsters to have monsters. They're ripping people's heads out, pulling their intestines, and while this might seem interesting, it does not get me unless the story's there along with it. If we actually have reasons for, you know, why their intestines are being pulled out. There needs to be some kind of ancient family trauma inside of those intestines to really get me to enjoy a story like that. And that is why I love The Closet so much, and that is why I love James Tynion so much. I think he is an absolute master at writing, basically. This man has won like 2 or 3 Eisner Awards at this point, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be stopping anytime soon. Like I said, if you want to hear about some other things by him, Nice House on the Lake is absolutely fantastic. The Truth Department is so utterly insane, the amount of knowledge you would kind of need to even construct this story to begin with, to make it as deep as it is something that I haven't seen in a long time in a lot of modern graphic novels. As I keep saying, you know, I don't mean like all the good ones are the best, but I'm just saying James Tynion is a shining golden beam in modern comics. Yes. And there's definitely other ones that I do like. Jeff Lemire is obviously a big one, but this is a writer, and not to cast any shade or anything, but I feel like rushes towards the end, or things like Swamp Thing, Green Hell, a story that I covered at first and then didn't end up finishing, because it was just kind of lackluster, and I knew how much time it was going to take, so maybe I can sit down and do something like this about it. But aside from that, Jeff Lemire is absolutely amazing as well. Alright, he just has a few duds here and there, but James Tynion is truly one that I've yet to come across one of these duds, and I really think you should go check out The Closet. It's highly worth it. You should go check out anything by him. I was recently going to go check out some of his old Batman stories. I ended up getting the new Watchmen, and it is absolutely fantastic. I want to talk about that one as well. But yes, everybody, hope you enjoyed this sit-down discussion. I don't know if it's going to be a little more boring. Like I said, I just want to kind of do these for the stories that are too new for me to do my traditional style. And I would also like to be able to put up a few more videos at a time, instead of like rushing to get one out a week, when I know some of these videos damn well take over, you know, 10 to 50 hours, depending on how long the length is. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you want to see me sit down and just kind of ramble about things that I'm reading in between my big videos, the things that I absolutely love doing? I'd be interested to hear, and I'd really like your feedback. But yes, The Closet, I hope I've done a decent job at explaining that this monster is actually just symbolism. And even if you watch this all the way through and haven't read it yet, there's so much in here that I didn't cover that you should definitely go read for yourself. But anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say down below if you've read this thing before, or feedback on this particular kind of video that I'm doing right now. And I'll see you on the next video, whether it's another one of these, or if I finally come up with my next big thing. Alright, we just did the Hellraiser story, and I need to go through this mabob and strategically pick out what I want to do before Halloween comes upon us. I think I'm going to be doing one more video, and then after that there might be like a couple weekend break, because there's a story that I absolutely want to do for the Halloween day. One that I tried doing last year and couldn't, and ended up doing the Ice Cream Man video. Another one that I thought turned out really good. But this is a story that I think you all will be semi-familiar with, or maybe not, at least the writer in question. I don't want to say too much, just in case for some reason I can't make that, but definitely be excited, because it's a good one, and if I can pull it off, it's going to be a great video. But once again, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. Go check out The Closet, and I'll see you guys on the next video, and I'll talk to you down in the comments. Thank you.